years I drove a truck, and the last 3 years I was a CDL instructor teaching truck driving. And we had actually had students from all over the world. Actually, had them from Australia, Fiji. I didn't even know where Fiji was, and it's actually in some islands right up above Australia. That's on the other side of the world, y'all. I had one from Russia. He lives here now, but he was from Russia. And somebody told me he was like a mechanical engineer. I'm like, what does he do? Taking truck driving training, if he's that. And they told me, they said, well, in Russia, they get paid the same as somebody that worked at McDonald's. So that answered my question. But anyway, I taught several companies. The first one I taught was Central Refrigeration. It was for a company. It wasn't for a school or anything. And they would come up there, and we was in contact with the state troopers that actually gave them the test to get their CDL, and we was in contact with them. So we would ask them. When I first started teaching, I taught them the way I drove, because I drove. You always find the easy way to do things, because you're out there doing it 24/7. So you want the easiest way to do it. So that's the way I taught them. Come find out, that ain't the way the state of Alabama wants you to do. And if you drove that way, I ain't saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's not the way the state of Alabama wants you to do it to get your license. So we was in contact with them, and we found ways to fix them. You know what I mean? For one instance, I'll tell you this. We used to take them up to Gunnersville. That's where they took the test, and we would teach them here we didn't have, let me tell you this too. You had 15 days. About 5 of those days was in the classroom to get a permit to where you could teach them in the truck. So now you got 10 days left. One of those days, you're taking them to get their CDL. So now you ain't got but 9 days to teach them to drive a truck. 9 days. That's it. So you had to get on the ball. You had to be very good at what you done. And I consider myself that, because I was a really good truck driver myself, and I could tell them easy way to do things. Up there, you do what they call alley back parking. That's where you're backing that trailer like this into an alley dock. You got a trailer that bends in the middle, but up at Gunnersville, you actually started out in the thing. So we kind of cheated. We had them to turn the steering wheel as far as it would go. They had a barrel up at the place. You're supposed to go towards that barrel when you come out. Go towards the barrel. But you're already in the place. So we had them turn that steering wheel as far as it could go and hold it. The truck starts coming out like this right here. When it faces that barrel that's up here, you stop. Then we had them to look back at the trailer. The trailer's now bent, So we had them look down that trailer and find something for reference, like a garbage can, a telephone pole, anything for reference. And then when you find that, am I right there? When you find that, then you go right towards that. You straighten your wheels straight, and then you go right straight towards that that barrel that's up there. So then you back up until you see that reference point. That trailer will start bending again, and you see that reference point, and you stop. You turn your steering wheel till it stops, and it goes right back in the same spot. So that's cheating. But the company, they didn't get paid until they got their license. So they wanted them to get their license real quick. And that's bad for y'all, but that's the way it was. So we cheated doing that, and the most obnoxious ones that I taught was usually from New York. Go figure. One guy, we was on Valley Avenue in Fairfield, and if y'all know that that truck, we was going to go down the what is that service road? Y'all know where I'm talking about? And right before it is where you get on the interstate. So we was in a lane, and I told them to stay in that lane until you go through the red light and then get over, because the other lane was the one that got on the interstate. So this guy turned on his blinker and started turning, and I said, no, stay in this lane. What part of that do you not understand? Stay in this lane until you go past the red light and then get over. And then he turned the other blinker on to go and get over to the right. Had nothing to do with nothing. And I was like, no, stay in this lane. And he was like panicking and stuff. So he actually went past the road we were supposed to turn onto a road that trucks ain't supposed to be. I tell him to pull over. He pulls over. I get in the driver's seat, and I take him back to the school where we was teaching them from. They want to know why we done that, and I said, well, he was panicking, wasn't following the instructions. So he was from New York. When he went up there to Gunnersville to get his license, let me tell you what happened. You go down this main road, which I think, what is that, 431? All the way down, and there's a spot where you get in a turning lane and go through an industrial park. It's got a railroad, a four-way stop. It's got a fire department sign, everything they use for you to get your license. So this lady, now this is what I heard, tells him to get over in the left lane and make a left at the light. Make a left at the light. So he gets up there and at the light does a U-turn. It starts going back the other way. That is against the law, people. So since he was going the other direction, she took him right back to the school because his test was over. If you do something that's illegal, like over the speed limit, anything like that, your test is automatically over. You don't get, chances and stuff. So they took him right back to school. And the same guy. And we cheated a little bit. There was another guy doing that Alley Dock parking like I was telling you, where he come out and everything. And he done everything just about right. But at the end, you're supposed to be able to pull up, I think it's 3 or 4 times. You can get out of your truck and check as many times you want to. But you're allowed to pull up. It's either 3 times or 4 times, I forget. Well, this guy, he got real close. He done everything right. But his truck was still bent like this right here, truck and trailer. And he was probably 4 foot. You're supposed to put the back of that bumper on your truck within a 2-foot space. And you can get out of your truck as many times you want to. Don't forget that. So he was about 4 foot from that. So he gets out of his truck. He looks at it. And all you had to do is turn your wheel to the left the way it was turning. And it goes right back. The instructor, if you'll listen to them, they can't exactly tell you what to do, but they can hint. And he wasn't taking the hint. She said, which way are you going to turn your steering wheel? Which you turn it to the left, and it goes right back in. If you turn it to the right, it's going to do this. So he gets up there and he looks down the truck and does this, and he said, I'm going to turn it to the right. And she says, now which way are you going to turn your wheel? That right there's telling him he was wrong. So he gets up there and does that again, looks down the truck and does this. I'm going to turn it to the right. And she's got his thing there, and a car out on the main road, which is 431, I do believe, skidded its tires or something. And this instructor turns around and looks. She's got her pad and everything. She turns around and looks. While she's looking, I look at him and I go, left. So when she turns back around, she says it again. Which way are you going to turn your wheels? And he gets up there and does this, I'm going to turn it to the left. Oh, students, man. I've done it for 40 years, and it just comes natural to me. I've got a leak going on right here up above me. It slowed down because it quit raining. It's sprinkling now, but I had a ball teaching them truck drivers, and there's all kind of, we had several, about 3 or 4 instructors carrying the drivers out and everything, and a lot of them, we used the same papers that they had to test them on CDL. So we had those same papers, and I think 27, 29, and above, you fail. Anything below, you got your CDL. Well, all these other trucks, the best one, he could drive as good as I could drive. The best one got like a 10. That was the best one up there. Well, these other guys, these other instructors teaching these guys, and I was, everything they done wrong, that was just me. This is my storytelling segment, y'all. This ain't no story, though. This is true life. These other guys would come back and they'd get a 1, a 2, maybe even a 3. And I look at them, I said, now, when y'all go up there to get y'all's license, y'all ain't going to get that. I'm telling you. I don't know what they're not telling y'all, but y'all ain't going to get that up there getting your license. Yeah, we doing everything right. I got these same guys, we rotated drivers. So I got these same drivers. And the very first thing he done, he goes down there, looks one way, and turns. You're supposed to look all the ways. So I go. And usually when I swap drivers, I tell them what they done wrong. I look on their paper and tell them what all they done wrong. Well, this guy seen me do that. He was a young guy, kind of a young. He said, what was that? And I said, well, I'll let you know when we swap drivers. Well, he said, well, I'd like to know now where I won't do it no more. I said, well, right back there when you made your turn, you looked one way only. You didn't look all the ways. No, they didn't do that. And I said, well, I done it because you're supposed to. And he was cussing me. Guess what I done? Took him back to the school, got him out of the truck. I said, buddy, we're here to teach you to drive a truck. Woo-wee. You can either listen and learn, or you can fight me. If you fight me, I'm going to take you back to the school every time. I'm here, you know, this ain't no, I've got my CDL, and I'm a very good driver, and I can teach you how to drive, but you got to listen. And he apologized later on. His wife was having a baby, and he was stressed out and stuff, and that's understandable. Had a new guy. I was the second one hired there. They fired the first one because he was going to the mall and walking around in the mall, wasn't even teaching them, so they found that out and fired him. So I was actually the next one up. They didn't treat me that way, but I was. We was at the first yard. We ended up changing yards. We ended up on Lum Avenue up there. We used to be downtown somewhere at a street, and while we was looking for another instructor, I had like 9 people doing this alley dock parking, and I was having them to shut their eyes and doing it. And all of a sudden, and this guy was just hired, and he was sitting on a brick wall behind here. Our manager, our boss, he used to be like a New York state trooper. Big, muscular, young guy, about 29, 30 years old. Big guy. But he was a New York state trooper. I'm sure he had fun with us. But I was teaching them to do that, and this guy, he was listening and learning. And this guy started walking up the yard towards us. And I noticed when he got up close, the guy sitting on the wall that didn't know a thing, that just been listening to me. That's the only thing he knew. He jumps off the wall and he said, "Everybody come here. Everybody come here. Make a oval right here in front of me." And this guy's watching him, you know, and I'm like, he is not doing this. And he said, "Now, you got to put your bumper right here in this 2-foot spot," and doing all this. I said, "They already know that. I've done told them 100 times. We've been doing it all day." He was doing it because of the boss. I don't think he ever drove a truck, actually. And a lot of times, when we got through teaching them on Longman Avenue, we had to go back to the school, which was off of Oxmoor. And we would leave at the same time. We'd leave the trailers there, and we would just bobtail. And he would get up beside me. Now, we're just bobtailing, no trailer. He'd pull up beside me. All these students in there with us, you know, were bobtailing. I'd have it in 6th gear, high range, 6th gear. Of course, he started out probably in 1st, 2nd, 3rd gear. He'd had to change gears real fast. Bobtailing, man. So we would take off, and I'd just go, shoo, go by. He asked me one day, he said, how you do that? I said, "Well, I'll start off 6th gear. We're just bobtailing. It ain't like we got a load on or anything." So he didn't know that. They ended up putting him on the yard and not even putting him in a truck, because I don't think he ever was in a truck. I had a lot of problems with him. One Saturday, one of the students asked me, he wanted things done inside first, then get outside. Well, when you test up there, they don't do that. They do it the opposite. They start from the outside, and then you get inside. Well, this student, we was practicing because that Monday he was going to go test in Gunnersville. I'm getting another leak here. So he asked me, he said, "Can we do this exactly how they do it at Gunnersville, where I'll be prepared and everything?" I said, "I don't see no problem with that." So we get out of the truck, and he starts doing it like they do it at Gunnersville. You start under the hood, naming stuff. This is a generator. This is a air compressor. It's gear driven. You can either be, you know, you got to know everything. So we started doing that. This guy that don't know nothing jumps out of the truck. No, he's got to get inside first. And I said, no, buddy, he wants to do it like they do it in Guntersville, so I don't see no problem with that. So he's throwing a fit. He made the guy get back in the truck. Now, there's 3 of us. And this is on Saturday. So I get him back out. I go up to the truck again. I said, you're my student. Get your butt out of the truck and do it like you want to do it. So he gets out of the truck again. And making the guy, I said, hold on a minute. I took out my phone. I called the New York State Trooper, our manager. And I said, listen, this guy wants to do it like they do it in Guntersville. And I said, no problem. We're doing it just like they do it in Guntersville. But this guy keeps getting out of the truck. He said, do it like you want to do it. I said, okay, that's all I wanted to know. Hung the phone up and got the boy back out of the truck. He gets out again. I said, buddy, if you got a problem, you need to call the guy. He was madder than a wet hen about that. God, I hated that guy. I think he was gay, too. That ain't why I didn't like him, but there goes the mail. And I got some mail. Ta-da! Looks like I got a lot of mail. Yeah, it's still sitting there. Wow. But I always considered myself a pretty good instructor doing that, and I enjoyed doing it. When I first started, like I say, there was one guy, he could actually drive as good as I could. I think he was from Mississippi. And he had his brother with him and everything. And they had another one, he was from Kenya. Like I say, we had them from all over the world, man. Kenya, a lot of from Africa. Kenya, Somalia, Nigeria. God, we had them from all over. A lot from Jamaica. We had them from all over, and you know, it's hard to teach somebody to drive a truck when there's a communication problem. But the guy from Kenya couldn't drive, and he was partnered up with the guy that could drive. I mean, he could put it in that alley dock. I mean, he could just boom, boom every time. The other guy, he couldn't get it close. I'm just going to tell it like that. He couldn't get it close. I've got a picture here. Let me show you this picture. It'll give you an understanding. It was very cold this day. Very, very cold. And I was bundled up. Man, I was miserable, actually. Alright, I got 2 pictures here. Okay, the one on the left is the one from Kenya. And he could not drive. Couldn't drive. The one in the red was the one that could drive. The only thing, we went up the interstate one day, and he rode all the way up through there in the left lane. And that's the only problem I seen with him. Other than that, he could back and everything, shift gears, really good. But that's the guys right there. And I'll show you this alley dock now. Wrong. Let me see where it's at. Alright, that's me. You can see the truck out there. And he was having to back in that thing. If they touch that bar that's across there with the back of that truck, that's just like hitting another car. So they're 2 foot right there before you get to it that you're supposed to put that bumper in. Alright. All of a sudden, the guy from Kenya, I noticed he was like putting that thing right in there. And I said, God, it must have dawned on him just all of a sudden, because he couldn't drive. He's from Kenya. I look, and there's a little air hole where the sleeper is that was open, and I could see that face. It was the guy in the red telling him which way to turn his steering wheel. So I run up there, and I go, bam, and knock it back in. All of a sudden, the guy can't put it in there no more. I said, no, I had him to actually get out of the truck from cheating. I mean, we cheat, but, you know, we want him to halfway drive anyway. Now, this same guy went and couldn't get his license. He failed. So they put him with me. I had 2 days to work with him and then carry him back up there. 2 days. Somebody else took him up there, one of his regular instructors, I guess. But I had 2 days with him, just me and him. Nobody else. The first day, we rode around. He was shifting gears perfect. I said, man, you ain't going to have no problem now. He's making his turns perfect. Second day, he couldn't do nothing right. He couldn't change gears. He went where they park cars down through on the side of a road. He was running down through there in that lane where they park cars. And I said, no, you're going to have to get over on the right. You're where they park cars at. So we get down here to make a left. There's a car sitting there waiting on the light. He almost hits this car. I stop him in time, but he almost hit it. Where First Avenue is, going over there around Sloss Furnace, the bridge that goes over there. He goes across the red light and stops on the bridge. Now, this is before we had the seats behind us. We still had the beds behind us then. He stops on the bridge, pulls out the brake, and just gets out of his seat and gets in the bed behind us. I'm all the way over in the other seat. And he gets back there and just lays down like this with his arms beside him. And I'm like looking back there at him. I said, what are you doing? We're in the road. He said, my system's messed up. My system's messed up. And I said, I don't care what's messed up. You can't stop in the middle of the road and get in that sleeper. And that was the second day with him. So the next day is when the other instructor took him to get his license. And I was telling everybody, I said, he's not going to get his license. Guess what? He got his license. Now, the only student that worried me, and it wasn't him. We had a guy from Iran. And he was always asking questions that didn't have nothing to do with truck driving. Like we had those satellite things on top of the truck. What is that? I said, oh, well, that's where they can see you and know what you're doing and everything. I lied to him. But he is always asking questions like that didn't have nothing to do with driving that truck, and it worried me. Well, we went up towards Coleman, came back, everybody, it was lunchtime, nobody had eaten yet, and we parked at the old Kmart in Gardendale. Y'all know where that's at. The old Kmart in Gardendale. We parked there and went across that bank parking lot, and there was, I think, a Wendy's up there. Well, he asked me, he said, I've already eaten. He said, can I do a pre-trip while y'all gone? And I said, yeah, I don't see no problem with that. So we all went up there, and while we was eating, some of the guys got talking about him down there. Because he had already said he had already eat. And they was talking about that. They said, he ain't eat nothing. He's been there with us. He ain't eat nothing. And then they got talking about kamikaze. They said, you know, them guys will plant a bomb and blow their own self up. And I got to thinking, he's down there with the truck by himself. And man, they got to worrying me talking about that. So when we got back to the truck, I went up there and told one of the guys that was with us, I said, go crank truck and let the air build up. And I went up there at Kmart. I sat down there, and that guy looked at me and he said, you come down here and crank the truck. And finally, we all went up there and told the Iranian guy. I said, crank the truck and let it air up. Let the air get up. So he cranked the truck, and we stood up there until we thought it was safe. But that guy scared me. That guy scared me. But we had them from all over the world, actually. Jamaica and a lot. Nigeria was about like the guys from New York. They was real. And the guys from Somalia, Kenya, which is East Africa, they didn't like them guys from Nigeria, which is West Africa. They didn't like them. They said, them mean people. That's what they said. So I learned a lot, and they taught me actually some language. I forgot it now, but, you know, stuff like, hi, how are you? Just simple like that. One of it, they do, it was what kind of language? Shanana? It was a Wadusi. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. But I drove a truck for 40 years, seen it, was in 2 wrecks, 2 unpreventable wrecks. In other words, it wasn't my fault. 2, and I had witnesses at those 2 wrecks. One of them actually killed a guy. I got to say, he was alive when I seen him, but later on I found out he did die. He pulled out in front of me, and I T-boned him. I was probably doing 50. You know, I even seen him get in a turning lane. And when the cop got there, he said, I guess he was going to the ABC store. And I thought he was joking, you know, because in his truck there was a lot of beer cans and whiskey bottles and stuff in his truck. It was like an old model Blazer. That's what it was. And I thought the cop was, but the more I stood there, I got looking up there, and sure enough, there was an ABC store. He was turning to go to that ABC store. How do you not see a big truck? How do you not see that? And I seen him get in the turning lane, but you don't expect, there wasn't no red light, no red light. You don't expect them to just turn right in front of you. You don't expect that. And I had a witness. A guy walked up and he said, man, he turned right in front of you. And the cop said, I need to talk to you. So I had a witness. And the other one, a guy went to sleep up on number 5 highway. Actually went to sleep. I was probably 3/4 out of the road when he hit me. He was asleep. He even said he was asleep. He worked at one of those trailer plants up Madison, up that way, or Haleville. And he worked nights, and he was on his way home and fell asleep and just went right over. He actually just sideswiped me. But there was somebody that was behind me, went head on with them. So that didn't bother my truck. He better be glad he didn't hit the front of that truck, because he'd be dead right now if he had hit the front of my truck. But I enjoyed truck driving, and I missed it for a little while. Because you do something for 40 years and then retire, you miss it. I don't care if you don't like that job, you miss it a little bit. But I enjoyed the CDL instructor, the truck driving training. I enjoyed that. I thought it was a lot of fun, and some of them some of the students were nice and some of them wasn't so nice. Actually, some of the men that had been driving a straight shift, they was harder to teach than a woman that had been driving an automatic, because they ain't never drove a straight shift. The guys used to a straight shift car or a pickup or something, you don't shift a truck the same way as you do a car. You don't do it. And I tried to drum that in them. I tried to drum it in them. You're supposed to double clutch, upshift, and downshift. I was teaching students when I first started how to not even use the clutch until you stopped shift without the clutch. And I found out right quick the state of Alabama don't want you to do it that way. That's not saying it's wrong. It's just saying to get your license, your CDL, you got to do it the way they want you to do it. I'm not saying that's wrong to shift without the clutch, because a lot of truck drive, and a lot of trucks now is automatic. And I might like it if I, had it. I don't know, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, y'all. Keep making music, Alabama.